If you are struggling with binge eating, this might be the most important video you ever watch. Because today, what I'm going to share with you is how when you're binge eating, it's actually not your fault. See, most people think that when they binge eat or when they overeat or when they overdrink, that it has something to do with their willpower. And it doesn't. And nobody's sharing this information. And so, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to actually teach you where this comes from using a movie character, Bridget Jones, which you may have seen her movie. She struggles with overeating, poor self-esteem, she overdrinks, and she has bad relationships. And what I find typically is that women who struggle with binge eating also have a lot of these problems as well. My name is Brittany Watkins. I have helped over 100,000 women stop binge eating. I developed a series of techniques that works with your brain to actually rewire your brain so that you don't want to overeat anymore. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how to do that. But first, what I want to do is I want to show you why you have this problem to begin with. What I'm hoping is that it's going to open up you're going to have some major aha moments, and you're going to finally understand why you're struggling with this problem, which is the first place to start, and then we can actually fix it. All right, let's jump in.
It all began on New Year's Day in my 32nd year of being single. Once again, I found myself on my own and going to my mother's annual turkey curry buffet.
So you can tell by the sarcasm in Bridget's voice here that she doesn't want to go to her mom's house as a single person yet again another year. So what this tells us is that she's single, but she feels slightly guilty and ashamed about it. So what I concur from this is that she believes that she needs to be in a relationship or married in order to feel good about herself. This is clue number one, that she's struggling with the subconscious belief, I'm not good enough, because she's looking for outside validation in a relationship to make her feel valuable. When you have this belief, I'm not good enough unless I'm in a relationship or married, you'll likely end up in a streak of bad relationships, because what you really want is to not be single. So you'll settle for people even if they're not quite right for you.
There you are, Dumpling.
My mum, a strange creature from a time when a gherkin was still the height of sophistication.
So what you'll discover over the course of this video is that Bridget's mom is actually the source of a lot of her problems. But in this clip, we don't really see that, right? She answers the door. She seems to be nice and welcoming. She's happy to see her. And this is typical in challenging relationships. On the outside, it looks like everything is okay. The mother will go through phases where she's very warm and welcoming. And throughout this video, you'll see that she's really just always trying to do the best thing for Bridget, but she does it in a way that really, really violates Bridget's boundaries. So this is confusing to Bridget. It would make her feel like sometimes she's safe to open up and tell her mom things, but then her mom will turn and take that and use it against her. In later clips, you'll see what I'm talking about.
By the way, the Darcys are here. They brought Mark with them.
Ah, here we go.
You remember Mark?
So the challenging relationship with Bridget's mother is already starting to show up here. As soon as Bridget enters the house, the first thing her mother says is that she brought a man to the party to set her up with. And you can tell by Bridget's reaction that she knew this was coming. So this is something that's been going on for years and years, I'm sure. So because her mother is constantly trying to set her up with people, what that's going to tell Bridget is that her mom is sort of not happy about the fact that she's single. So this would make Bridget feel even more ashamed that she's single and slightly rejected by her mother because she's not in a relationship. So how this dynamic is affecting Bridget and her psychology is that deep down, subconsciously, she believes that once she is married, that she'll finally be happy and her mother will finally love and approve of her.
Now, what are you going to put on?
This?
Oh, don't be silly, Bridget. Never get a boyfriend if you look like you've wandered out of Auschwitz. Now run upstairs, laid out something lovely on your bed.
Now, this is super subtle and something that I'd like to spend a lot of time educating my women about. This is called body boundary violation. When Bridget's mother rejects what she's currently wearing and has already taken the liberty to lay out a new outfit for her, she is imparting on Bridget, and what Bridget's believing subconsciously about herself is that her body is to be objectified and that it's okay for anyone, including her mother, someone who's supposed to love and protect her, to judge and criticize her body. Now, this is not the first time this has happened. Bridget has grown up with these subtle messages coming from her mom on a day-to-day basis. Subconsciously, this would cause Bridget to treat her body like an enemy. She'll develop a habit of extreme dieting, binging, and body hatred. She'll constantly beat herself up for not being skinny enough, perfect enough, and notice every little flaw she has. And this is why it's so hard for her to go on a diet and actually stick to it, because what she's really struggling with here is feeling rejected and loved and unloved by her mother. Her extra weight has nothing to do with food or exercise. This is driven by this subconscious belief system that her body is not good enough and her body is an object that should be changed. I also want to point out here that when Bridget's mom makes the decision about what she should wear, she's taking Bridget's power to make and trust her own choices. When a child has their power taken away constantly by their parent or their authority figure, such as in this scene, it can cause severely addictive behavior. This is because the child learns to override their own decisions since the decisions were always made for them. They won't trust or know how to listen to their own internal cues. That's why one glass of wine can turn into an entire bottle, because that voice that tells you to stop once you've had enough hasn't been developed. Somebody else has been making all their decisions for them. So you'll see in the upcoming clips that Bridget also struggles with over drinking and smoking. I spent a lot of time healing this in my programs because it's so powerful and it's really at the core of most problems. So if you struggle with overindulging, whether that's food or alcohol or shopping, this pattern is typically at the core of it. So I want you to look at who in your life or what experiences you had were a body boundary violation. And it could be as subtle as something like this, somebody criticizing you, or it could be somebody touching you inappropriate, or just making a comment about your body. If you don't stand up for yourself and say, no, it's not okay for you to talk to my body like that. I love what I'm wearing right now. I'm happy, I'm comfortable in this, and this is what I'm wearing. It will affect you very deeply, and it will cause insecurities that will play out in other situations in your life.
Bridget.
Hi, Uncle Jeffrey.
Had a drink?
No.
No? Come on then.
Actually, not my uncle. Someone who insists I call him uncle while he gropes my ass and asks me the question dreaded by all singletons.
So, how's your love life?
So you can tell by the way this clip ends that, again, Bridget feels insecure about the fact that she is single. Now, somebody who is really confident in who they are, they don't feel the need to be in a relationship in order to be confident. So you wouldn't hear them making a comment like this. But more importantly in this clip is that this man, who's a close friend of the family, grabs her butt without her permission. Now, one of the things I teach in my classes is that this is a sexual boundary violation. This behavior has finally come to light in the wake of the Me Too movement, and in my experience, this is the number one reason women struggle with their weight. So what this behavior from her family friend / uncle will do and make Bridget believe is that if she were a little heavier, that might protect her from being violated sexually by this man. Maybe she wouldn't be as attractive to him. So if she had some extra padding, then he wouldn't grope her without her asking for it or without her permission. If this were her boyfriend or a guy she was flirting with or dating, this behavior would more than likely be okay as long as it was playful and loving. The other key point to observe here is that since this man is a close friend of the family, the parents must have known this is going on, but they didn't do anything to stop it. So how this affects children and women as we grow up is that this would make Bridget subconsciously believe that she's not worthy of being protected and that it's okay for men to objectify her. This will cause her to have poor boundaries with men she dates who will potentially objectify her as well. And we'll see that later on in the movie.
New Year's resolution, drink less. Oh, and quit smoking. Oh. And keep New Year's resolutions.
So Bridget's mother has set her up with a guy that she's actually interested in. So what's happening here, and what was happening previously, was that she was babbling on, and you can tell that she's sort of nervously speaking to this man. She's also drinking and smoking at the same time. This is coping mechanisms, coping behavior for people that feel insecure, because she's never really grown up feeling secure about herself, with her mother cutting her down about her body and what she wears, and the fact that she's single, and her parents not standing up for her when this man violates her sexually, and of course a slew of other things that were happening beneath the surface. This has not caused Bridget to be a very confident woman. And so when she's talking to a man that she's actually into, she's going to have to use these coping mechanisms like drinking and smoking in order to give herself that confidence that she's lacking.
Mother, I do not need a blind date, particularly not with some verbally incontinent spinster who smokes like a chimney, drinks like a fish, and dresses like her mother.
Yummy. Turkey curry. My favorite.
This scenario, this scene absolutely breaks my heart. So Bridget has just heard Mark talking badly about her. Now, because she doesn't have good boundaries and she has poor self-esteem, she just pretends like she doesn't hear and acts nice. Many of us have been in situations like this, including me, and sometimes you just can't think of the best thing to say in that moment. However, if Bridget had good boundaries and a solid self-esteem, she would have likely stuck up for herself, saying something like, "Excuse me, that's not nice. I don't deserve to be talked to like that." Would have been more appropriate. I also want to point out here that if Bridget would have just stayed in her original clothing, if she hadn't allowed her mother's comments to affect her, if she decided not to believe that she needed a boyfriend or a husband in order to feel good and valuable about herself, her confidence would have been more palpable, and she would have had more of it, and that would have likely made her more attractive to Mark. She might have been quirky and funny, but she would have been confident and solid in herself. There's an energy that women who really know and understand themselves give off when they don't allow these belief systems like I need to be married or I'm not good enough to affect them, and it's palpable and it's attractive to other people and to potential romantic partners.
I decided to take control of my life and start a diary to tell the truth about Bridget Jones. The whole truth. Resolution number 1. Obviously, we'll lose 20 pounds. Number 2. Always put last night's pants in the laundry basket.
So Bridget has been rejected by Mark, and because she doesn't have good self-esteem, she blames herself, and it sends her into this spiral of negativity, self-blame, and judgment. And this is usually what women do when they hit rock bottom or they have experiences like that. They start tracking calories, they put extreme rules on themselves, or they set unattainable goals for themselves. Most women have been there. I know I have. This helps women feel in control with her life, but it's usually fleeting, because what she's trying to do is she's trying to change her body and her circumstances with outside behavior and goals. What she really needs to do is go internal and do the internal healing work. She needs to work on the relationship with her mother. She needs to heal this sexual boundary violation that she felt growing up. She needs to heal this poor self-esteem in order for her to really feel good and confident. And what I have seen over and over again in my practice is that when women do this deep internal work, it actually shows up as physical results on their body. They drop weight without even having to think about it, because the weight has actually been there trying to protect them, not because they're bad at eating and bad at exercising. The extra weight and the overeating comes from all of these insecurities and this need to have extra padding in order to feel safe.
Equally important, we'll find nice, sensible boyfriend to go out with and not continue to form romantic attachments to any of the following: alcoholics, workaholics, commitment phobics, peeping toms, megalomaniacs, emotional fuckwits, or perverts. And especially will not fantasize about a particular person who embodies all these things.
So here in this clip, we can see again her poor self-esteem playing out in her relationships, just as I said in the earlier clips. So we get the idea here that Bridget dates really unhealthy men. And this is common for women who have a poor relationship with one or both of their parents. The psychology is that we learn the meaning of love based on how our parents showed us their love. If they treated you poorly, not respecting your boundaries, not listening to you, not valuing your opinion, cutting you down, criticizing you, not showing you love when you needed it, or on the flip side, completely abandoning you or being physical or verbally abusive, this is what you'll believe love is supposed to look like. That's why it's so common to find people that we're in relationships with who eventually end up reminding us of one of our parents. In your subconscious mind, the subconscious process dialogue is this: if you love me, you'll criticize me. If you love me, you'll hurt me. If you love me, you'll yell at me. If you love me, you'll leave me, depending on what your pattern is. So really, in order to have healthy relationships, what we need to do and the work that we do is to heal the relationship with that parent or that authority figure that you developed this belief system around love with.
Can't live, living is without you. I can't live.
So in this clip, Bridget is back to drinking and smoking and her self-sabotaging behavior. I'm sure she's also fallen off her diet. And this is literally the next clip from the earlier one. And so we get the idea that she didn't really stick to her diet or her goals for very long. Again, this is just what I said in the last clip. If you don't heal those unhealthy patterns in these relationships with your authority figure and the experiences that you had growing up that caused you to have all these problems as an adult, it will be very, very hard to change your body or to develop core self-esteem without first doing that internal work. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you now understand why you've had struggles with binge eating, why you've had a problem with your weight, why maybe you've had some low self-esteem or bad relationships. And now what I want to do is I want to teach you how to fix it. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I am an expert in working with the mind, and I developed a series of techniques that help you shift your brain chemistry so that you actually don't want to binge eat anymore. Normally, I teach this only to my students. I charge $1,000 for this class. I am giving this technique in this video away for free because I am so sick of women struggling with this problem. I have so many friends and I see so many women that suffer and suffer for years and years, and I have a solution that fixes it in 5 to 7 minutes. So on the other side of this video, just click the button and you will be taken to another free training of mine where you're actually going to learn how to use this technique. You will shift your brain chemistry. You'll go through all the steps. Once you watch this video, you have the technique. The more you use this technique, the less you binge. It absolutely heals your brain. In my advanced programs, it takes people about 2 to 3 months of using this technique regularly to never have a binge problem ever again for the rest of their life. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've helped over 100,000 women do this. We have results. This works. Please do yourself a favor and watch the next video and heal this problem for yourself. Lots of love.